This is Glow in the Dark Radio. The science fiction podcast, with original independent science fiction, written and performed by Mike Luoma, with music by Kevin MacLeod. The Vatican Assassin Trilogy and The Adventures of Alibi Jones by Mike Luoma are available in ebook, trade paperback, and audiobook wherever you find your books online. Get links and details at glowinthedarkradio.com. This is the Science Fiction Podcast, Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma, and I've got Chapter 17 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on the way on this episode. Alibi Jones and his crew, and their two guests, have arrived at what is said to be a ghost ship. Alibi has discovered that, not surprisingly, one of his guests has dealt with this ship before. But he's also discovered that, surprisingly, one of his own crew members has a personal connection back to the ghost ship. They're on the scene, so the time has come to begin investigating the ghost ship as we get into Chapter 17 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on this episode of Glow in the Dark Radio. Big thank you to patrons for helping to support the podcast. I would love to have you come on board as a patron if you've been listening and enjoying and want to help support what I do here. You can do that for $2, $5, or $10 a month through Patreon, Patreon. Patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio is the place to go. A big, huge thank you to the patrons I have right now. If you're a patron, thank you. Thank you. Because you helped me keep this whole thing going. Couldn't do it without you. It's just the truth. It's a way to crowdfund the podcast, and I'd love to have you on board. Wanted to let you know, as far as book news goes, I got tired of waiting for Lulu to come around on Alibi Jones' 6 short stories, so I've taken the initiative. There's going to be a new edition and a new printing of Alibi Jones' 6 short stories. It's in process. It's underway. I'm trying Draft to Digital's print side. Now, I've been using their ebook distribution since they basically absorbed Smashwords over the last couple of years. And that's been going okay. Not without a couple hiccups, but okay. So we'll see how they do with the print side of things. I'd still rather use an independent print-on-demand provider and distributor than rely on Amazon. That may appear as soon as this week. I'm not sure. We'll see what the turnover time is like with those guys. But a new paperback edition is in the works. Just to replace the old one. It's going to look the same, I think, basically. Should. That's all the book news I have. We're going to get into Chapter 17 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest coming up next on Glow in the Dark Radio.
Hi, I'm JC. My co-host Cindy and I host the Fix It Home Improvement Podcast. We cover projects that every homeowner should know and top-rated products for home and garden. And for fans of Mike, we keep you posted on new smart home systems and products like robot vacuums and robot lawnmowers that seemed like science fiction not too long ago. You can check it out on your favorite podcast app. It's Fix It, F-I-X-I-T, Home Improvement.
Now here's Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, Chapter 17, on Glow in the Dark Radio. The colossal ebony craft of unknown origin filled the view screen on the bridge of the A.D. Foster as they approached, the great old ship's hulking immensity evident and the lack of surface detail, even as it blocked out the nebula and the stars beyond. As Alibi and Kat worked the cruiser's controls, Dr. Humphreys and Lenora Schwald stared at the view screen, watching the alien vessel. "It's like driving up to a mountain," Humphreys said. When the others looked at him with blank expressions, he explained. "I like hiking, climbing mountains. When you're on your way to the mountains, they always look closer than they are, because they're so big." "I was thinking the same thing," Kat said. "Mountains." All eyes turned to Kat. He shrugged. "Sarcasm," he said. "Emily's fault," Alibi said. "She shouldn't be teaching you sarcasm." "Too late," Kat said. "Not sure I like the idea of a sarcastic darkur," Alibi said. "Sounds like a cocktail," Lenora offered. "Bartender, give me 2 sarcastic darkurs." "I could use a drink," Humphreys said, rolling his eyes at Schwald's attempted humor. He chuckled, amusing himself. Alibi kept a steady hand on the ship's controls as Kat watched the power readings. After glaring at Dr. Humphreys for a time, Lenora settled back into a trance. Humphreys tapped into the cruiser's scanners and started taking his own readings from their scans of the alien vessel. "Dr. Humphreys?" "Yes, Captain Jones?" "Call me Alibi, please," he said. "Devon," Humphreys said, gesturing at himself. "Devon, did we ever figure out the first time around which race this ship belonged to?" Alibi asked. "No," Humphreys answered. "We didn't have enough time to study it. It wasn't any race we'd run across prior to that first encounter with the ship. The early tests and scans seemed to indicate it predated the reign of the ancient enemy. Chances are its people are long gone." "Older than the ancient enemy, huh?" Alibi asked. "On an interstellar scale, the ancient enemy weren't really all that ancient," Humphreys said. "Go figure," Alibi said. "What's in a name, huh?" They called themselves the People. Azimuth claimed to lead the elite of the people. Now, they're the Hunger, if that encounter was real. Almost forgot about that. He shrugged it off for the moment. Even if his astral encounter with the failed experiments of Azimuth hadn't been real, Azimuth had not been seen in human space in a few years. Better to worry about the matter at hand than bad dreams. Alibi glanced at the array in front of him as they closed the gap to the other ship. "Kat," he asked, "any change, fluctuations?" "Power indicators are holding steady for the most part," Kat said. "We are seeing an internal power anomaly caused by the operation of the transspace nullifier, but it is following the patterns we were told to expect." "Keep me informed, Kat," Alibi said, "especially if you get an anomaly you don't expect. Be sure to watch especially close for any fluctuations when we dock with that old airlock." Emily returned to the bridge. "The transspace nullifier is on. Seems to be working," she reported to Alibi. "Good. Do you mind if I go back to my cabin for a bit?" she asked. "No, not at all," he said. "We'll call you when we need you." Poor kid. Alibi couldn't help but feel a little sorry for her as he watched her turn and leave the bridge. She would hate that, I'm sure. Emily hid her emotions well. He couldn't read her at all. Alibi turned back to the ship's controls and appreciated something he did have the ability to read. 5 further minutes of steady progress brought the tiny cruiser up alongside the giant alien derelict, revealing more detail. The surface of the craft appeared to be an intricate webwork of ebony fibers, interwoven strands of varying size, knitted together into a solid black wall. A glint of metal gave away the location of the portable airlock installed by the last covert ops team. As they approached the ancient husk, Alibi lined the cruiser's starboard side airlock up, skilled enough a pilot to make docking, even in these unusual circumstances, appear routine. He guided the cruiser in, matched airlock to airlock with the alien ship, and brought it home with a satisfying thump. "Seal established," Alibi said. "We have a lock." "The onboard anomaly is reaching a notable level," Kat informed Alibi. "What do you mean?" Alibi asked. "The anomaly is caused by the operation of the transspace nullifier," Kat explained. "The greater the power draw by the nullifier, the greater the anomaly. The nullifier is working, drawing on greater and greater power, and dampening something. I am not sure what. We cannot find anything on our sensors. We have any way to find out? Alibi asked Cat. Not short of turning off the nullifier and seeing what happens, Cat said. What, and have that ship suddenly disappear? Pass, Alibi said. Think we want more nullifier, not less. Let's get the big one up and running. First things first. Alibi and Cat, safely encased in construction EVA suits, guided the large transspace nullifier into place on the outside of the alien ship. Dr. Humphreys had identified the surface of the vessel as a hardened, crystalline silicate. A simple adhesive should suffice to hold the unit in place, he'd said, like sticking it to glass. Alibi and Cat mounted the transspace nullifier like a giant metallic spool up above the airlock where the cruiser was docked, held in place by a large square pad of industrial-strength, double-sided tape on its base. The adhesive appeared to hold. Alibi pushed against the device, propelling himself backwards into space. Seems secure, he said, as he floated back in. Cat pushed off the nullifier as well. Yes, Cat said. He used his momentum to float down to the cruiser. Cat pulled a set of portable power and control cables from the side of their ship, unrolling them from their external hub. Alibi watched as he glided back up to the transspace nullifier, the cables playing out behind him like a long tail. The side of the alien craft loomed like a giant wall of woven black glass, dwarfing the cruiser, the transspace nullifier, all of them. Now that they floated outside of the cruiser, they could see that the surface of the alien ship wasn't solid black. The material had a dark transparency, striations of silver buried deep within. Can black glow? It sure does shine. It almost looks like obsidian, Alibi said, except for the metallic-looking streaks. Obsidian? Cat asked. An earth mineral, a black rock, shiny, like glass? Alibi tried to explain. Black rock, black glass? Cat said. Yes? Kind of, Alibi said. Alibi and Cat connected the power and control cables to the transspace nullifier. Job complete, they floated back to the cruiser's open portside airlock and headed inside. Hope this works, Alibi said. I'd rather not become one of its ghosts, you know. The lock filled with air. The inner doors opened. Yes, Cat said. I too should very much like to remain in physical form. That is not sarcasm. Nope, Alibi said. They removed their helmets and EVA suits and made their way to the bridge. Alibi checked with Emily, back at her usual post. She'd returned to monitor the power readings for the cruiser and the built-in transspace nullifier, while Cat and Alibi were outside. No real change, she said. Just some small fluctuations. Okay then, Alibi said. Cat, let's increase the power plant output. Get ready to bring the external nullifier online. Dr. Humphreys had made himself at home on the bridge, turning a passenger seat next to an interface panel into his own makeshift workstation. He studied spectral analyses arrayed on a portable screen in front of him, but looked up at the mention of the nullifier. Did it stick okay? He asked. Seemed to, Alibi said. I'm getting some very curious readings from the surface of that ship, Humphreys said. It's hard to pin down its exact composition. Anything we should worry about? Alibi asked. I don't think so, Humphreys said. It's inert, at least for now. Let me know if anything changes or gets weird, Alibi told him. Anything. Righto, Humphreys said. He turned back to his scanner readouts. Alibi watched the cruiser's power plant's potential output build. Took 8 long minutes until it grew high enough for Alibi to turn on the larger nullifier. There, Alibi said, throwing the switch. There's no guarantee that will stop the alien ship from jumping, however it jumps, and wherever it jumps to. But, at the very least, we're not experiencing the power drain the other ships did. We are, however, exerting a great deal of power to do that, Cat pointed out. Interesting. Oh, Captain Al! Lenora Schwald appeared on the bridge. Lenora, Alibi acknowledged her. What can I do for you? I was wondering when I could go over onto the ship, she said, to try to make contact with whatever spirit or mentality might be inhabiting the craft. I'm not sure it's a good idea for you to go over there, Lenora, Alibi said. Can't you do your thing from a distance, from here? Well, yes, sometimes it's possible at a distance, she said. She grew a touch indignant. Each case is different. In this case, I haven't gotten anything so far. She paused. Well, except a headache. That just started. I don't think it's an attempted first contact. We'll see. Will it be soon? Will what be soon? Alibi asked. Will we be able to go over there soon? She asked. Did you bring an EVA suit? Alibi asked her. What? Schwald was confused by the question. A spacesuit? You know I didn't, Captain Al. Well then, you'll have to wait, I'm afraid, Alibi said. But there's an airlock, she said. And no air on the other side of that airlock, Alibi informed her. Oh! There are probably some bodies over there, too, Alibi said. We're going to try to get them out first, and then try to repressurize the section. I don't know how long that will take. Oh, she said again. Right. She stopped to think for a moment. I guess I'll go back to my cabin and meditate some more, and see if I can lose this damn headache. She turned and made ready to leave the bridge, but stopped by Humphreys. I suppose you have a suit, Devon. Humphreys looked up. Matter of fact, I do, Lenora, he said. But I've got no intention of going over there before I can walk over dressed like this. Besides, he said, and looked down, I know some of the people who might be over there. I'll let our contractors clean it up first. I see. Well, please call me when it's safe to go over there, she announced to the room and Alibi. She left with a flourish, sashaying out off the bridge. She may be the only one on this ship in a hurry to get over there, Cat observed. She's going to go over there and sit on a mat with her eyes closed, Humphreys said, a scientist's scorn in his voice. She doesn't face the grim task that you do. Speaking of which, Alibi said, leaving the phrase hanging, but looking from Cat to Emily. Alibi locked his command console. He, Emily, and Cat left Humphreys alone on the bridge as they set off on their grim task. As much as it sucks to have to retrieve bodies, it's still pretty amazing that we're about to set foot on this ship, Alibi said, as the three of them stood in their suits in the airlock, connecting the cruiser to the mystery craft. We still don't know anything about the people who built it, except that they predate the ancient enemy. I am not comfortable with this mission, Cat said. I would like to register my complaint now. No sense of exploration, Cat? Okay, duly noted, Alibi said. Emily, you want to register any complaints while we're at it? No, she said. She didn't elaborate. The atmosphere finished vacating from the airlock, and the door in front of them opened, the space beyond an inky black void. We'll get some room lighting soon, Alibi said. The temporary airlock's power supply is recharging. It's got some built-in emergency lighting. Should be enough power building for them to kick on any minute now. In the meantime, they had handheld light bars to illuminate the area around them as they floated into the darkened interior of the alien vessel. At first, the space around them didn't look all that alien. The last human crew on board used lasers to cut a hole for the temporary airlock, and then inflated an emergency shelter inside of the alien ship to create a human workspace and safe zone. Alibi, Cat, and Emily floated into that shelter, their light bars held out ahead of them. While the somewhat familiar surroundings were a comfort, the three were also watching for dead bodies, and, possibly, glowing green ghosts. Alibi looked around the shelter space, waving the light bar to light up distant corners. It was strange to see such a normal, human-looking space inside of the alien shipwreck. He jumped a little as the airlock's emergency lighting kicked on. The emergency shelter began drawing power as well. A dim glow began to light the shelter room. "Oh!" Cat said. "There, behind us." Alibi turned around and spotted the first frozen corpse, a woman lying on the floor. Floating just above the floor, as the shelter's artificial gravity hadn't yet turned back on. Her body was covered by a fine layer of frost. When they turned her over, her mouth, nose, and eyes were crusted over by more frozen foam crystals, created when her body's moisture tried evaporating in the vacuum. Cat had body bags in his EVA suit's backpack. He drew one out and began to unfold it. He, Alibi, and Emily gingerly wrapped up the woman in the bag and sealed it up around her. The shelter's power supply finally gained a full enough charge to restore all functions. The room lights came on. Alibi looked up as the artificial gravity kicked in. A frozen, screaming face came flying down at his. That was Chapter 17 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, part of the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. A frozen, screaming face rushing at Alibi, falling from the sky. Or at least from the ceiling, it seems like. What is going on? We'll find out on our next episode as we get into Chapter 18 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. A science fiction ghost story underway. Also underway, as I mentioned, a new print edition of the Adventures of Alibi Jones 6 short stories paperback. It's been out of print. Lulu kind of messed that up, and they haven't come around and fixed it. So I'm trying somebody else for the distribution and print on demand providing. That's Draft to Digital. They have a print side that I have never used, so we're going to see just how well it works. Hopefully it isn't enshittified yet, you know? Seemed pretty easy, seemed pretty basic and easy to use. We'll see. Once again, I'd still rather go with an independent company for print on demand and distribution rather than rely on Amazon. You know? And once again, a big thank you to patrons for helping to support the podcast. If you want to find out more about becoming a patron or just what it's all about, head to patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. And that is all for this week. I am your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. Thank you again for listening to Glow in the Dark Radio. Glow in the Dark Radio. This podcast presentation is copyright 2026 by Michael F. Luoma and is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. CC by NCND 4.0. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at Incompetech.com. Mike's books are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook, wherever you find books online. Get links and more details at glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. This has been a presentation of Glow in the Dark Radio.